everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, today is how to show up with confidence. So, first, I want to say I want to give a little background on the level of confidence I had before today. My confidence was shot. There were certain things that I felt confident in, like little small things, but there was no true foundation because anytime something came up, anytime I was in, like, I remembered an embarrassing moment, anytime that I just felt uncomfortable, my confidence was out the window. And I really didn't notice it, which is the scary part. Like, when you think that you have confidence and you really don't, that is a scary place to live in because you start to think of certain things as your personality. Like, oh, I really don't like putting myself in the limelight because that's just not who I am. So then I just didn't go after certain opportunities. I didn't talk to certain people. I was very reserved and shy, and I just thought that was my personality. Whole time I lacked the confidence to just be who I wanted to be and just show up as my authentic self. So how it started to turn around was when I had my daughter. I knew I wanted to be a certain person for her because I knew that I was her first role model. And when I had her, I literally started to face myself. And what I mean by face myself, I faced things that I didn't like about myself. I faced a lot of my flaws. Like, it just seemed like God was just pushing it in my face where I just couldn't ignore it anymore. And I almost lost my mind. And July of 2023 was when I really had the biggest eye-opening moment where it was just like, okay, I have to do something about this. Like, I'm not who I want to be, and it shows. And I decided, like, okay, this isn't who I want to be for my daughter. I take raising my daughter very seriously, and so there was a lot that I knew I had to change, and it started with me. Having confidence is something that has to be exercised, and it's all about liking yourself. A lot of times people feel like I don't want to harm myself, so I like myself, and that is totally false. I did not like myself, okay? I didn't have half of the things that I wanted. And it was very weird to accept compliments from people because I'm like, what are you even talking about? Do you know what you're talking about? Because I don't see myself that way. But anyways, there was this girl who was just like, you are so strong. Like, I'm like, who's strong? Who you talk about? Because I know I don't think I'm strong. I cry every day, man. Like, you don't even know what I do behind closed doors. You don't know how I feel behind closed doors. But you're saying that I'm so strong. Why? I couldn't understand. So now I just started thinking of that person, like, maybe you're crazy. Another point where I wasn't accepting compliments was when I was teaching Forex, y'all. I was definitely one of the Forex type of girlies. And I remember, like, really hot back then. Like, it was real popular. And there were people that were asking me because, I was in one of the group. When they said that if we could meet up for coffee, or if we could do this, I'll meet up with them just to talk about Forex, to kind of give them what Forex is about and how easy it is to understand the concepts of Forex. And I remember some of the people saying, wow, like, you're a really good teacher. Like, you're really good at, breaking things down. I see that for you. And I'm like, it'll make me feel like, okay, thank you. Thank you. Because I couldn't see what they would see. So a lot of times I just didn't like compliments. And that was a part of me just being insecure. So let's fast forward into how I started to show up with confidence. I had no choice once I had my daughter because I took the well-being of my daughter extremely seriously. And if you heard in my last video about how to show up as your authentic self, one of the points was, a lot of times, if you're a leader in your field, or you're a mother, or you're a father, or you have kids that you have guardianship over, you're a coach, or whatever it is, they look up to you. You are their first example. And a lot of times we are our parents. A lot of flaws our parents have, we have. A lot of great things about that our parents have, we have. We are a product of our parents. We're a product of who raised us. And there were a lot of things that I want for my daughter: to be fierce, to be confident, to be bold, to be, show up as her authentic self, to be, just to take up space. But if I'm not embodying those things, how can I ever show her? How can she ever have those type of things in her life? And in July of 2023, I felt the weight of not showing up as my authentic self crushing me. And what I mean by that is like my life, I felt like I was in the passenger seat of my life and no one was steering the wheel. Like the wheel was just going crazy. And I was in the passenger seat panicking with so much anxiety and just paralyzed, if you will, just paralyzed in fear, paralyzed in insecurities. And I couldn't take anymore. I couldn't take anymore. And when you're paralyzed and your life is going down a direction you don't want it to go, and you're feeling alone and you're feeling like, insecure, you're not just confident who you are, you don't show up as your authentic self. So you just feel like you're existing, you're not really living. It could get so scary because you're going to be hurting so bad inside. You don't realize how much you're hurting yourself because you're insecure, how much you're hurting yourself because you're not showing up as your authentic self, how much you're hurting yourself because you're shrinking yourself to fit in small places when you were made to be bigger. And now you're in environments that don't serve you because of how insecure you are. You're not showing up with that confidence. And now you're hurting yourself. And it's just like a snowball effect. And now you're in situations you never thought you would be in. And so for me, I had enough. I said, absolutely not. I'm figuring this out for my daughter. That was my why. I'm figuring out for my daughter. And so what this conversation is going to go down towards is spirituality. You have to have a strong spiritual sense in order to gain confidence. I started with therapy. I started with therapy, and that is a game changer. Okay. You got to start talking to someone about what you're going through and unpacking your past. People be like, oh, therapy is not for everybody. Yes, it is. I don't care what anyone says. Therapy is for everyone. Now, I treated therapy like a dating session, like you just find therapists that work for you. I have a phenomenal therapist, okay? Top tier, 101. And I'm just so happy for myself. But even when I was going through the phases of finding different therapists, I still got something out of it. I went to therapy to face my reality. Where am I at in life right now? Who am I for real right now? That's what I started with. And I started to chip at certain things about myself, and I faced everything, even the things that were uncomfortable about myself. And I faced it. And I went to therapy because you can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. And sometimes you don't have the right people around you that you can open up to that can really give you sound advice. You have to go to therapy. If you have a pastor or you have a mentor, you have someone that you trust. When I say trust, that gives sound advice on, don't make you feel worse, I should say. Someone that does not make you feel worse. Someone that wants to see the glory in you, that wants to push the best parts of you out and help you work through the ugly parts. Therapy is number one, facing who you are today. And then number two, what I did was I had to start to look at my bad habits. And a lot of times, your bad habits hinder you from growing in confidence. For an example, if I'm having like a horrible day and it's real bad, like it's weighing on me heavy and I'm hurting and this and that, and I'm like, okay, I want to drink. Sometimes you overdo it. When you're hurting and you're just feeling bad inside, you start to overdo it on certain bad habits that you have. And what happens is you start doing things that aren't aligning with who you want to be. Or even if it's eating, like you're having a bad day, now you're just eating, and now all of a sudden, now you're gaining weight. And that's not necessarily aligning to the version of yourself that you want. And so once I took a look at myself, like, okay, this is where I am, this is who I am. Why am I doing things to harm myself? I'm not saying drinking harms yourself. I'm not saying eating, it's like a pizza harms yourself. But when you start to make it an obsession, you start to overdo it, that's when it becomes a problem. And that's when you got to take a hard look at it and say, okay, well, why am I doing this? And a lot of times when you figure out, okay, what are my triggers that get me to eating too much or getting me to drinking too much? You start to realize it is from a lot of stuff. Now that you've figured out who you are and facing who you are, you have to start unpacking why you are that way. Unpacking your past, unpacking your issues, your daddy issues, your abandonment issues, things that are the ugly. You have to start unpacking it and figuring out, why are you like this? Why are you like this? Why am I like this? A lot of times for me, what I realized is there were things that happened to me in my past that I let define who I was or how I showed up in life. And that's what got me to here. So I face who I am, where I am in life right now, who I actually am, face ugly truths about myself. And then I unpacked why I am the way I am. These two right here are the most brutal places to be, because when you realize you aren't who you think you are, you start having an identity crisis. You start to kind of spin out of control and start to feel sad. It's just like, well, damn, who am I for real? It just starts to become a lot mentally and emotionally. It's hurtful to find out you're not who you thought you were. And so the only great part about that, the amazing part about finding out that you are not who you thought you were, is now you have the opportunity to truly become who you thought you were. This is the prime time to be like, okay, I'm not her. I thought I was her, but I'm not her. But guess what? Now I can't become her. Now I am about to show up as who I thought I was. But that third part is finding your spiritual self. And what I mean by that is who you are spiritually and who created you. So for me, now I'm going to start talking about myself. After I faced who I was and faced my reality, my flaws and all, and started unpacking how I even got there, I now started looking towards God for answers and for help. I need you. You cannot do this all alone. You need a higher power, the highest power. And for me, I had to really pray to God, because I'm like, God, I can't do this. I need you to take all of this away from me. Every single thing that's holding me back from showing up as my authentic self, I need you to take it away. I just need some saving. And what's crazy is God is closest to the brokenhearted. It does break your heart when you find out that you aren't who you thought you were. It breaks your heart. But the great thing about it is that's when God is the nearest. That's when God is so near. And he's there speaking to you. God was speaking to me about who I was. When I started to dive deeper into who God is, confidence found me. When I decided to seek God, confidence found me. That's why when people say it's Godfidence. I really understand what they mean by confidence, because if it wasn't for God, the confidence I have would be nothing. My foundation is God, because you cannot tell me who I am. My thoughts can't tell me who I am either. Even in uncomfortable situations, things that remind me of my past, I am who God says I am. And that's how I started to walk. So now that I'm having faith in God, I start having faith in myself. He is not of shame. And I can't shame myself for my past. I can't sit in this embarrassment. I can't sit in the guilt. I can't sit in the shame and hide and try to just pretend like none of it happened to me. No, it happened. But when you walk with God, the confidence is different. It don't matter what it look like. I'm bigger than all of that. It doesn't matter what you think of me. I'm bigger than that. My God is bigger than that. And so my confidence just I started to heal myself in watching sermons, getting into my Bible. I started to realize, okay, this is bigger than me. God has called me to a certain purpose, like having these conversations. I wouldn't have had this type of conversations with you if I didn't have the confidence from God, if I wasn't really trying to soak myself into him. And this is just the bottom of where I'm about to go. Like the bottom. And when I say that, I'm not saying that from my physical strength. I'm saying like you have no idea how God is about to show up and show out in my life. I don't even know. But I feel it. I feel it. And so with that being said, is you have to find your peace in God. You got to find your peace in God. And you have to have your own relationship with him, because the church will have you messed up sometimes. No shade to any church members out there, but it'll have you messed up sometimes. If that is your only relationship with God, you have to have an intimate one with him alone, by yourself, praying to him, helping him. Say, God, I need you to show me that you love me. I need to feel your love, because his love is unmatched. God, I need to feel your love. God, I need to see you how you see me. So not only do you have this therapist helping you work through your stuff, unpacking who you are and who you are today and helping you the day by day, but at home in your intimate moments, you also have God. We are spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings. And if you aren't showing up as your, if you're not trying to strengthen yourself spiritually, you will fail. You have to lean on God. You have to have a source that's inside of you that's saying you can do this. You are love. You are beautiful. You are smart. You are capable of, you are a good mom. You are a good dad. You are a good friend. You need that voice, because if you don't, you are going to only lean on your own strength, and that's where insecurities can fall in, thinking of your past, keeping that shame. So for me, I had to grow closer to God. I got my therapist, and even though I was praying, it wasn't until I really knew what I needed to pray for that God was like, okay, here I am. Okay, you found out that you're not who you thought you were. Here I am. Now let me show you who you are. Let me talk to you for a second. You've been running this yourself. Now let me run it for a little bit. And that just made a huge difference in my confidence. And that's when confidence found me. Now, when people give me compliments, it's like a testimony to God now. Like, for instance, I have my own business, and one of my clients was like, she's really good. And I said, yes, I am. Not to say like I'm just that girl, because I am that girl, but I am that good because of my God is that good. You don't understand what the work me and my God does behind closed doors. You think I'm good? You ain't seen nothing yet. God's not done with me. And so it's like I can accept compliments now. Now I know when someone says you are really strong, I know I'm strong. And thank God. When someone says you're a really good teacher, I know I am. And thank God. That's his spiritual gift that he gave me. And so, if you want to show up as your authentic self confidently, you have to face who you are, the pretty and the ugly. You have to figure out how you got there. Who told you certain things that you think? Unpacking your past. Get that therapist. Get that therapist. Figure out who you are for real and unpack why you are the way that you are, your flaws, how you got yourself in certain situations, and then anchor yourself spiritually. You have to get strong spiritually. You have to, because if you don't, you're only going to lead yourself back to where you were. And nobody has time for that. We're out here grown, trying to make money, trying to be our best selves. We got kids to raise. We really don't have time to be back to square one, you know? So when you stop listening to who you think you are and start listening to who God think you are, you're going to see yourself much bigger. Much, much bigger. You think you're that girl. Wait till you hear what God think about you. And you're going to realize you in small spaces, baby. You are in small spaces. When you were made to be so much bigger. Take up that space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me and having these conversations with me. And I want to say this last thing, okay? I'm not here to push God onto anyone. But if you're here having these conversations and you've made it this far through this conversation, I can only tell you how good God has been in my life. And there were times where when I was in my darkest moments, and God still sent his light. He still sent it. And when I didn't even deserve it. And the peace that comes from the love of God is unmatched. I've never felt anything like it. And I've been in situations where I felt like, what am I going to do? And it crippled me. Now I'm in situations like I don't know what I'm going to do, but God. And it's the faith. Your faith is so different. It's so different. And exercising my faith every day is truly a blessing. So I'm not perfect. I don't pretend to be perfect. Me talking about God is not saying that I am holier than thou. Like I just be out here just like I just got it all. Listen, if you only knew a couple of days ago, a week ago, you know? So thank you so much for joining me on this conversation, and I will see you on the next one.